So they gave me a couple of their old financial reports, and I looked them over and I saw what sort of information they were looking for. And I was able to create an application for them that solved that problem because generative AI has all the data. It has all the knowledge. So I think just knowing how to get educated about it is tricky. And again, most people, because it is so unique to the individual and everybody can use it differently, I think the easy way to start learning is just to play with the tool. And that means different things to different people. So I think that's why people struggle, because it's almost too big. It does too many things. And then we kind of get paralyzed by too many options. And then we don't choose any of them. So I think that's a lot of it. But I do encourage people to just play. Don't take it too seriously. Don't try to solve every huge problem you have in your business or in your life right off the bat. It's almost like saying, I'm going to jump into the swimming pool for the very first time, but I'm going to start by jumping off the high dive into the deep end. That's not the best way to learn how to swim, right? It's really probably easier to start in the shallowest end and just splash around and kick and play and have fun with your friends and get used to the water and how does this feel and how do I learn to float, and just taking those smaller steps first. And we do that through play, or just trying to solve everyday problems in our life.
Welcome back to Future Jobs. I'm your host Fahad Jobswala, and today we have a phenomenal guest, Kellye Kamp. She is the founder of Source Camp, where she's dedicated nearly 4,000 hours to hands-on generative AI, building, teaching, researching, and deploying it with a sharp non-technical clarity. With 10 startups in her portfolio, Kellye partners with small and mid sized businesses to embed AI with confidence, speed, and real business impact. She is a trusted voice in the AI salon community and recently shared spats of practical advice in episode 102 TS3 Doc. What's the first step to using AI in your business? Kellye, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Fahad. I appreciate it.
So, how have you been, Kellye?
I've been good. I'm enjoying the summer here in Dallas, Texas, and everyone seems to be doing a little vacationing right now. It's not been too hot, so it's been a great summer so far.
It's really wonderful. We are also enjoying the summer. Not probably the summer vacations. So, before getting more deep into the conversation, could you let my audience know a tidbit about yourself?
Something about myself. Well, I am a serial entrepreneur, which means I've been an entrepreneur for 25 or 30 years now, a long time. And I've started a number of companies over that time. And I just really love to start something new. I like building things, whether it's a business or it's an application or building relationships. So that's just what I love to do.
It's really wonderful, Kelly. So, Kelly, you've logged thousands of hours exploring generative AI, which is like really amazing and fabulous. So what was your aha moment that made you realize this isn't just hype, but a human-centered catalyst for business transformation?
That's a great question. I appreciate you asking that because I remember my first aha moment like it was yesterday, and it's been 2.5 years ago, which doesn't sound that long, but in AI time, that's a really long time because things change so quickly. But I don't know how it happened, but I happened to sign up for ChatGPT the very first day that it dropped. I don't know how or when. I wish I could go back and see what happened to make that happen. But I signed up, and of course, I started playing with it immediately. And I would ask it questions, and I wouldn't get a very good response, which is, I think, what happens to all of us the first few times. And being somebody who really likes to figure things out, I couldn't figure this one out. And it was perplexing and a little frustrating. And I found an online course. I thought, well, I'll just, go take a little course, figure this thing out. And I just happened upon an amazing teacher through Coursera. And I remember the first time he said, here's how you can use this tool. And he had about 3 different tasks that he could ask it at one time. And it gave him an actual answer, not just a link to an article. And that was my first aha moment is, oh, this is not the internet. This is something totally new and different, unlike anything we've had access to before. And I was immediately hooked.
Wonderful, Kelly. So your aha moment is it's really wonderful, and it is something which happens, you know, s- probably all of us. But the moment, really, the moment comes in all of us, in our lives. But the moment is coming, we have to be mindful with that, and we have to make that, a life changing moment for us,
Mhm.
which you did.
Yes. And I like to say that if somebody has not had that huge aha life changing moment, they probably haven't played around with generative AI quite enough.
Exactly. So, can you walk us through one early project that reshaped how you see AI's role in future workspace?
One project I've worked on so many projects, and it seems like every time I start a new project, I'm learning something new and I'm able to bring more to the table and challenge the technology even more than before. So I've had so many great projects, but two that stand out a little bit is I was working with an investment group here in the United States that had a chain or has a chain of restaurants in Czechoslovakia. And one of their partners lives in Czechoslovakia, the other partners live in the States. They're all very financially savvy and they know how to read their numbers, but they were struggling to get some of their financials reported because of the gap accounting. So the accounting rules in Czechoslovakia are very different than the accounting rules in the United States. And so there was this problem that there was nobody on either side of the pond that knew the other one's accounting practices. So even though they were really good at numbers, there was just more of a cultural language knowledge gap there that no one really knew how to solve. So they gave me a couple of their old financial reports and I looked them over and I saw what sort of information they were looking for. And I was able to create an application for them that solved that problem because generative AI has all the data. It has all the knowledge. So I didn't have to train it on Czechoslovakian accounting practices. It already knew, and it already knew US practices. So I just said, please create for me a tool that will take their financials and give me spreadsheets that will convert all of the currencies, will give me a compliance checklist of all of the rules that are different for each country so that both sides know what they're looking for, give me explanations, create financial reports, spreadsheets, balance sheets, all of it. So now all they have to do is take a QuickBooks report from the US or their accounting software from their side and put it into this tool, and it automatically does everything for them in seconds. And before, it was taking them maybe up to a year to see those numbers correctly. So that was fun. A second project I did that was completely opposite of that, but equally fun, is I have a client that mentioned he was a beekeeper. And I went, I wonder what I could do with that. So I got online and I pulled up some different photographs of beehives, some that were healthy, some that were unhealthy. And I created a tool that would take the photo and analyze it to determine the health of the queen and the drone bees and how much honey or how much pollen, if it had mites and how to treat that. So I've got this entire application for beekeepers now. So two ends of the spectrum, and I've done a lot of things in between as well.
It's really wonderful. So we have obviously we have mixed people here who are listening to us. Most of the people know about this stuff about generative AI and about normal common AI. So could you please explain the difference between a normal AI and a generative AI? the difference between this, and then we'll move forward.
So I'm going to keep this really, really simple for the audience out there, but there's three basic kinds of AI. There's machine learning, which has been in our lives for probably at least 40 years, if not longer. Machine learning is where you have programs and developers who build a program to read data, but that data and that program are pretty stagnant. So, for example, when we get our bank statements online each month, that's machine learning in the background. It's calculating all those numbers, creating our statements, and understanding who to give those statements to every month, right? That's machine learning, but somebody had to build all of that. It's very, very complex. The second one is robotic AI, and that's the one that people see all the scary movies and the humanoid robots they think are going to take our jobs or worse. And I have nothing to do with robotic AI either. So those are literally the robots that are doing human-like tasks for us. Then the third type is generative AI, and that's what I specialize in. So generative AI means that you're just using simple everyday language to talk to the tools rather than having to be a programmer or developer and knowing how to build the software. So rather than knowing all of that, you can just speak to it like ChatGPT, which a lot of people are familiar with. You just speak to it like it's another human being. You don't have to have any special technical skills or vocabulary in order to get great results out of it. So that's what I do.
I would prefer to make mistakes in the front of ChatGPT so that it can be able to guide you about that. Because it's a
Correct.
great thing itself. If you make mistakes, so ChatGPT is gonna guide us about that. That your that's made statement is a little wrong. You can improve that in that way. So it is really wonderful. So most of the people, big influencers here in Pakistan, our manager and some other people, also pushes people to use ChatGPT daily. Like maybe 10 times a day. So, in
Mhm.
your opinion, is it like good for your mental health and for your physical health as well to use an AI daily? Because near to people, it's like a very horrible thing. So, how would you define that?
Well, I mean, technology is just a tool, right? The technology itself is not good or bad. It's the way the human uses it. So we always have to have a human that's controlling the technology first and foremost, just like a calculator. But there can be people who use the tool incorrectly and use it for malice. And we just have to be mindful that there are some people out there that will do that. But the majority of us, just like the internet, can be used for malice things. But the majority of us are using it to be helpful. And so just like that, ChatGPT and other large language models is just a tool that the human gets to decide how they're going to use it. But I think that's an excellent recommendation to use it 10 times a day if you're getting started. I like to explain that it's just like learning a new language. So you can pick up a few vocabulary words and sound like you know what you're saying in another language, but that doesn't make you fluent, right? It's great if you want to order an egg for breakfast. Like we can all learn that phrase in another language. But if you have to go to the emergency room all of a sudden and you really have to communicate and you don't understand the language, then it's going to be difficult. And so I think using large language models like ChatGPT is just like learning a new language. So the more you practice, the better you're going to get at it. But unfortunately, there really aren't any shortcuts to be fluent in it. So I think 10 projects a day is great. And I encourage everybody to start small and just use it for personal use. Don't have to think about using it for business necessarily or solving the biggest problems there are. Just start small. Like, oh, I wonder, instead of going to Google, which there's nothing wrong with Google, but it's going to, Google itself, the search engine, is not going to give you an answer. It's going to give you links to articles to read. And you have to read all these different articles and then decide for yourself what the right answer is, correct? But if we can just go to ChatGPT and ask a basic question like, I wonder what the difference is between algebra and calculus, right? I can go to ChatGPT and I can ask that, and it's going to give me an actual answer. And it may, because we're talking about math, give me something a little bit complex, more complex than I can handle because I'm not a mathematician. And again, rather than Googling something, I can actually have a conversation with ChatGPT. So if it gives me an answer that's too complex for me, I can say, that's a little over my head. Can you explain it to me like I'm 10 years old? And it will rewrite the answer and explain it to me like I'm 10 years old. And I can keep asking questions indefinitely. So there's no limit. It truly is like having a conversation with another person who's way smarter than me.
I would say the best way to get more closer to ChatGPT is to think about, as you just mentioned, to think that there's another person on your screen who is more smarter than you. So it is like obviously gonna work. So Kelly, I have probably asked these questions a lot of other AI influencers as well, who uh who are the previous guests on my podcast, who are like expert in AI. But I'm again asking to you the reason why, because they all have answered differently, according to their own experiences. So it is really important um, to explore everyone's experiences, and to take uh, and to kind of shape the whole a sense, so that we can finally apply that. So many people say that if we use ChatGPT or any AI tool constantly, daily, so it's gonna harm our decision making skill. So we'll
Mhm.
not be able to make decisions by ourselves. So is that true?
Well, I think, again, every individual is going to have a different answer. But for me personally, it has um, it has greatly improved my ability to be creative, to think differently, to ask questions I could have never asked before because I didn't have the expert that I could ask, or I couldn't afford to hire the expert to ask. So people who say it's going to steal our creativity, it's going to keep us from thinking, it's going to dull us down, that has not been my experience at all. In fact, it has been quite the opposite. I'm a pretty creative person to begin with, but a lot of times I would have a great idea and it was so difficult to bring that idea to fruition because I had to go to the library and do all of the research, or I had to get on Google and read thousands of articles to become kind of an expert on it. Or I would get to a point where I had another question about the subject and there was no one to ask. And so I didn't realize it then, but looking back now, I realized that I, and probably most of us, because if getting the answer is too difficult, most times we just settle for not knowing the answer and we move on to something else. And so that's what I love about generative AI is that now I am very free to go and explore and ask any question I ever wanted to ask about any subject I ever wanted to know about. And I'm actually getting an answer. And it's answering me just like a person would. It's not just a one sentence answer, or when I ask it for more information, unlike a human, it doesn't get frustrated with me and roll its eyes and do the heavy sighs like, oh, I thought I'd already answered this. There's no judgment with these tools. And I think that was probably my second aha moment when I started using this tool regularly is that, oh, I can ask this tool 15 times to answer the same question in 15 different ways in order for it to make sense to me. I couldn't really, maybe I could do that with a human, but I wouldn't feel comfortable doing that with a human, right? Because I don't want to irritate them or look stupid or anything like that. So I have a very, maybe not a different view, but I have a very strong view about what AI is enabling me to do rather than stealing what I can do.
It's really wonderful, guys. You heard that by yourself with your own ears. Uh, it is really amazing, and yeah, it is true. According to my experience as well,
Mhm.
AI can help you to change your view of thinking. Maybe you think in a different way, which I would not name as bad thinking or a bad thing view of thinking, but maybe AI can help you to think even more better way. So Kelly just clarified this misconception, the myth, probably the biggest myth in AI. So you emphasize non-technical, high-impact guidance in your work with SMBs. What's the most common mindset barrier you encounter, and how do you help dismantle it?
I think most people think they have to be technical in order to use this tool. And that's something that I come to them to the table at saying, I'm not a technical person either. I did not have a degree in IT or coding or anything like that. I'm actually an English major. So I chose English because I wanted the opposite of anything that had to do with math. Math was not my skill set. So I hopefully I can talk to people and say, look, I'm not technical at all, and I've learned how to figure this out, but it did take some practice. And if I can offer any kind of a shortcut, although there's not really shortcuts, but if I can be a coach and say, let me tell you some things that were took some time for me to learn, that I can make it faster for you to learn. And I'm not going to talk to you in technical language because I don't know the technical language. I just know plain English or plain language. And so I think that makes people feel at ease just off the bat, knowing that I'm not technical either. And I feel like I can speak to them from that point of view. So hopefully that takes a lot of fear out of the desire to use these tools, because I think that's a big misunderstanding is people think, oh, I have to be technical because that's how software has always worked before.
Exactly, I'm totally agreed with you. So that is a really beautiful quote to say that the all the computers and all the technology we had in the past, they were all designed as to so that we have to be very professional and very technical with that. But the specialty, the main and great thing here with the AI is that we can talk in any kind of in any language in any way, but AI is gonna answer us in a way that it has to answer. So that is the really great thing.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I agree.
You've built custom ChatGPT solutions tailored to workflows. How do you strike the balance between engineering, flexibility, and business contracts?
Wow, the difference between those three. Well, again, I'm not an engineer and I'm not a technical person. So the tools I'm building are actually quite simple, but they solve big problems. So one of the things I've noticed in talking to new clients is I ask them about the software they're currently using for their business. And almost every industry has some specific piece of software, a SaaS platform, for example, that they're using that's known across their industry. They've probably used it for a good 10 or 15 years now. And I'm in conversation, I'm understanding that they have the software, but they're usually quite frustrated with it. Not because it doesn't work, but because they're not technical and they don't know how the tool was built. And therefore, they don't really know all the things it can do. Or maybe they have a list of everything it can do, but they don't know how to actually do it because they're not technical. So now they're paying for the software, usually quite a bit of money for that software every single month or for every single seat. And very few are getting the most out of that software. So that's a big waste of money and time just trying to learn how to navigate this new tool. So what I'm doing is I'm coming in, for example, someone will say in HR, we have to upload documents, we have to interview a potential job hunter, we're taking notes by hand. Then we have to go and type up our notes. Then we have to scan it into our computer. Then we have to turn it into a PDF. Then we have to load it up into our software that we're paying for. That's a perfect example. That's 5 steps, right? That they could probably do it in 2. And if they had a generative AI tool that was already set up for them, all they had to do was speak into the tool while they're doing their interview, and everything else is done for them. It's transcribed. The data is extracted in exactly the way they want it to be extracted. It's already, you can tell it to create a PDF for you so you can directly upload it. So again, they can just tell it in plain language what they want it to do instead of going through all of those steps that take quite a bit of time. So instead of doing the job at hand, like interviewing the next candidate for a job, they're too busy doing all of the busy work. So that's what I like to do, is come in and find out, how can we improve your systems and save you a little bit more time so you can get back to doing the things that you really took this job to do, not getting lost in all the busy work.
Exactly. So Kaylee, even with that fast-paced AI and technology we have, we still consider AI work. Or if for example, if someone is uh, doing their editing work with the help of AI, so
Mm-hmm.
the if their clients or the people they're gonna send those files or the projects, they're still gonna consider it as a unprofessional project. So why this thing is still exists, and why we haven't uh, take AI as a professional tool or as a professional technology?
Well, I think first of all, there's no real training. I mean, there's training available, but you have to vet every single person who says they're an expert. And I've been called an expert before, I guess, in terms of how much I've learned compared to other people. Maybe I could be considered an expert, but I don't like to use that word because I'm still learning every single day. And the technology does change very quickly and updates very quickly, unlike other software we're used to. So, it is difficult to sort of get our arms around this technology because there's not a clear leader. There's not a clear book that we can go to and just read it like it's a math book that's been on the shelf for 10 years. It's really hard to write a book about generative AI because by the time I get it published and in someone's hand, it's probably changed 3 or 4 times. So I think just knowing how to get educated about it is tricky. And again, most people, because it is so unique to the individual and everybody can use it differently, I think the easy way to start learning is just to play with the tool. And that means different things to different people. Some people love to sew and they like dress patterns. And so they could actually start using generative AI to maybe create a new dress pattern or teach them how to sew, for example. But somebody else might come in and say, well, I really love to cook. And how do I get better recipes? Or how do I create a menu for my restaurant? Or how do I determine what this clientele that comes to my restaurant, what sort of food they like? And then how do I adjust my menu around that? So I think that's why people struggle, because it's almost too big. It does too many things. And then we kind of get paralyzed by too many options. And then we don't choose any of them. So I think that's a lot of it, but I do encourage people to just play. Don't take it too seriously. Don't try to solve every huge problem you have in your business or in your life right off the bat. It's almost like saying, I'm going to jump into the swimming pool for the very first time, but I'm going to start by jumping off the high dive into the deep end. That's not the best way to learn how to swim, right? It's really probably easier to start in the shallowest end and just splash around and kick and play and have fun with your friends and get used to the water and how does this feel and how do I learn to float, and just taking those smaller steps first. And we do that through play, or just trying to solve everyday problems in our life. Like, how do I fix my printer? Well, what if you could just take a picture of your printer and ask ChatGPT, how do I fix this printer? And through that photograph, it can analyze the model number. It already knows all the instructions that comes with it, so you don't have to read those. And it will give you, if you ask it, a step-by-step direction about how to fix your printer. So that's how I started, just kind of looking around my house and seeing what things needed to be repaired or what problems I needed to solve that I didn't know how to solve on my own. And that really got me on my journey pretty quickly.
Um, really wonderful. By the way, I really like that. After having, when we have a lot of options, we get paralyzed. So that wasn't great. And
We do. And
yeah, it
I'm
is
right
true.
there with
Yeah,
everybody else.
yeah, exactly,
Mhm.
Kelly. It is really true because, we still have some people who have like an old mindset we had, back in 1990s and even in 2000. So people are still not digesting this technology because if for example, if someone just see a paradise in the front of them, so they they take time to realize about that is there really a paradise in the front of them. So then they'll go inside and like it takes some time to get into uh, that condition. So same here, we just get the paradise. We can call it paradise because we have a lot of options. Like it is mind blowing enough that the work which takes probably 48 hours, it can we can get that done in some minutes. That is
Mhm.
enough to blow your mind. So Kaylee, what is the single piece of advice you'd give hiring managers and leaders preparing for the future of work?
That's a great question. I think for leaders, they themselves really need to start learning how to use generative AI because change management, any kind of change that comes into an organization has to start at the top. It's just much easier, and they're going to need some guidance. And even if the leader doesn't know a lot about AI, again, I would encourage him to find those people within his organization that are already using AI on the side. Maybe they're not using it at work, but they're probably using it at home, and in an organization of 100 people, there's probably three or four that are really into it and really using it a lot. So I think it would be really smart for leaders to search out those few people and let them teach the leader how to start using it, and then use those three or four people already using it to be kind of the brand managers or the evangelists for adopting AI into business. So I think that would be the smartest thing for them to do.
Exactly, Kaylee. So when AI fails and bias, hallucinations or misuse, what should be the first steps toward course correction?
Well, first of all, it's just a tool. It's not perfect all the time. And I think we have to just go into it understanding that it's not perfect because guess what? People aren't perfect either, but we still work with them, right? No one's perfect and neither is software. So I think that's where the human element comes in. We have to use our judgment and our discernment, and we have to look over the data that it's giving us, it's giving back to us, and make sure that it is accurate or feels accurate, seems accurate. Because nobody knows everything. It knows more than we do, but we still have to look at it. It's called the human in the loop. So I have to have a human in the loop. So just because a calculator will probably never miscalculate the numbers, we might put in the wrong number and get the wrong answer. So if we're getting an answer back from a large language model that doesn't seem correct, there are two things to do. One, make sure that we ask the question in a way that it could actually understand what we're trying to say, and two, just make sure that it is giving you correct information. Open three other large language models and compare, or go to Google and research that question and see if you're getting the same answers. But generally, the information itself is going to be correct. It's the way we're asking the question that becomes delicate.
Exactly, Kaylee. So Kellye Kamp, thank you so much for turning on for today's Future Jobs podcast episode and for giving me your precious and valuable time for the amazing conversation. Um, it was all
And
about
thank you,
AI,
Fahad.
generative AI, and the better users of AI, how we can use AI in more betterly.
Great. Well, it's been my pleasure. I've really enjoyed this, and thank you for inviting me.
It was my pleasure, Kelly, and I was like excitedly waiting for this podcast episode, and I was following up with you, again and again, and finally get the pleasure to host you. So thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much, my listeners and audience, for listening and watching to the Future Jobs podcast episode with Kelly Camp. I will meet you soon, inshallah, with another amazing podcast with another amazing guest. Till then, stay peace and take care of yourself. Goodbye.